A role reversal to kick off our first series of the day. History did not favour them, but Fnatic sweep up Dust 2 in a convincing 16-7. We're going to a third and it will be Overpass. But before we get there, it's time to break down exactly what we just witnessed. Here to do so, my lovely analysts, Potter and Maui. And Maui, an incredible CT side from Fnatic kicking off the second map.
Oh yeah, definitely. It felt like Astralis could just do nothing really. I mean, nothing was really working. Fnatic were just hitting on every cylinder. Flusha and Crims at long. The connection there was so strong. They were finding so many opening picks towards that side of the map. And Crims on top of that, he felt like he was all over the map. He was finding frags at B as well. His rotations were spot on. And Brawlin and JW, it just felt like Fnatic. I don't know what it is that's in the air, but maybe it's a little bit of romance for a couple of these pairs that are across the map, because that connection as well was just so on point. Brawlin and JW at B were just locking things down there. Golden as well. He's a little bit more of the solo player at Catwalk, but he was finding his own little bit of self-love for himself. Wait a second, pause. But okay, actually, we'll move on from that. But no, they were doing great. They were doing great on that CT side. Everything was being locked down, I'll say that.
Yeah, and it's incredible, you know, because you were picking up in the pre-game segment, we were talking about these individuals really stepping up. We didn't really see that so much happening on Inferno, but now on Astralis' map pick, no less, Christine, they managed to lock it down. And I believe you have a particular round that you want to be breaking down for us.
Yes, this is very early on this Dust 2 CT side for Fnatic, but this is kind of gonna illustrate how this long A and how this A in general on Dust 2 went for these Astralis guys. Take a look at their spawn. Take a look at how fast Astralis make it out of this long A. And I'm going to pause here. At this point, generally, the CTs kind of just falter. They fall back and they retreat because they've lost this long A, but not Fnatic. They've already made a firm decision from the beginning of the round that no matter what, they're going to fight for this long A. That's exactly what you see here. The amount of utility that these Fnatic guys are throwing out this long A way, and they win the duels. Crims, he's got that finesse towards this long A platform, holding down the fort. But this is where things get interesting. This is where the Fnatic flair, the pizzazz that I love from these guys kind of come out. Take a look at Flusha and Crims. Flusha the whole time, he's just going to kind of peek over towards this cat, make sure that he's keeping it honest, but the whole while he is here for Crims support. Now, this is where, once again, things get interesting, because Flush is going to find himself towards this long A plat. Crims is going to find himself towards this pit. And Crims is very low, but he's got the AK on his back. And this is where he and Flusha are going to trade guns. And it really throws the Astralis off guard, because the gun switch, they think Crims is in big pit the whole time. So I really liked the creativity coming out from Fnatic. I like the fact that in the moment of high pressure, they're still communicating. They're still finding ways of making sure that they solidify their win conditions. So Fnatic, once again, they've got the style, man. They've got the style points.
The Fnatic flair, indeed, you absolutely love to see it. And we love to see it going to a third map in our opening game as well. Maui, if you're looking at your boys in orange going into this one, of course, they have played it a little bit more than Astralis, but Astralis have that 100% win rate. What do they need to be focusing on in order to be taking it 2-1?
Oh, there's a lot. Astralis, they're really comprehensively great at Overpass. It's a map they've historically just kind of broken open. Their execs, especially on that B bomb site, are pretty much copied by every single team in the entire scene. Their execs are just so devastating. But Fnatic, they've actually found a little bit of footing just kind of holding that B site from on top of the site. When they played against OG a few days ago in the group stage, actually, I asked Golden about how it felt like they were really just okay with playing on the bomb site as opposed to taking control towards water. And I want to see a little bit more of that, because you know the Astralis execs are going to come out, but it's really just, did Fnatic do their homework? Do they know how to counter these with good utility and good positioning in order to stop those kinds of hits from destroying them?
Well, we're going to see if that homework pays off. We're going to a third and it will be Overpass. Tom and Vince will be back with the action after this.
we go the distance between our two juggernauts, and Overpass is our final hallowed ground in our best of 3. The upper brackets will continue for one team, the other will be knocked down a peg. And of course, on top of it, a whole bunch of RMR points, ASL points, money, and bragging rights. And Tom, it's my pleasure to join you alongside this ride. It's been a really fun game, and I've got to say I've been very impressed with Fnatic's resolve to not just win Dust 2, but to make Astralis look like an ordinary team in the process.
Yeah, keep them in their boot camp. And as said, like keep them in the boot camp. This has been a fantastic ride watching them play throughout this tournament so far. And well, no matter what happens in this map, the ride will continue because this is our upper bracket. This is for a place in the upper bracket final. There are some pretty damn good teams still remaining on the other side of that upper bracket as well. So it's not going to be an easy road, no matter the case, but that's why we have all the best teams in Europe currently here for the RMR. Golden! This is what we like to see. The IGL just goes. I'm setting JW to get both kills alongside him. He might have been the backup, but it seems like he's done the majority of the work. They abandoned the B site early, but they're prepared for this retake. Crims is sat back with a kit. He's waiting, just holding into Graffiti. He goes down, though. A bit of an awkward position, Vince, for that kit to be held.
Oh, absolutely, and there is a very real chance now that Astralis can build off that. Magisk straight away onto JW. So the only killer for the Swedes has actually been put down a significant amount of damage, and now Golden, 48 HP, stuck on the sandbags. He gets wrapped in from Magisk. Astralis looking to return the favor, hot off the back of a loss. They come straight out of the gate, and it's nothing but headshots from Magisk, and Brolan can try spinning all he wants. Attack will not miss that chance, and Astralis do claim the pistol. But I go back to Dust, and I would say they picked up the first 3 rounds, Tom, and they ended up with only 7. So I'm not going to get too carried away yet.
I'm fairly, is this the first? Well, no, yeah, this they've only won 1 pistol, right? And they lost the follow-up round. So it doesn't really matter. That just seems to be the case for Fnatic. They're the team that wins the gun rounds. They've gone for a force buy this time, and they're being just as aggressive as in the last round. Brolan, though, not going to win his initial duel, and JW is being hunted. They're going to put the pressure on Glaive. Cleans things up, makes this round a little bit more awkward, but there's still plenty of pistols, even a decent amount of utility. More importantly, 3 low players when it comes to Astralis.
Devastating amount of damage on Astralis already, softening up for these pistol players. Fnatic, sure, still will be second favorite to take this round and make it theirs, but if Astralis were to decide against hitting B and go back onto A side, this is where things could get a little bit scary. I doubt it with the fact that 3 players are now making moves up into Monster side. But they do have control of a connector, and there's always that chance that they can second guess themselves and go back over onto A. Now Fnatic, though, they decide that they want to rotate. They want to come down to the B side. They're throwing in their flashbangs. They're trying to get up close and see if they can maybe clothesline a couple of these keys on the approach. But Astralis are taking their sweet time. Now they go for the late rotation that we were talking about just beforehand. Connector is such an integral part of this map, and as long as you have control of Connector, you have control basically of how the pace is dictated. Flusher lining up the grenade. This could actually finish off a couple players. If they go over onto the dumpster, he is waiting to hear that bomb start to get planted on default, and intelligently Glaive goes for a different plant, but they can hear it. But Glaive survives. He wasn't one of the weakened players. He had 100 HP. It's now been brought down to 28. And the HP bars of Astralis are looking grim. But at least they have 5 players still standing. Dupree will go down to the hands of Crims, but he instantly gets traded by Device. And there is no way back in on the side of Fnatic. They will concede a second time.
But that's the weird thing here. They'll never really know, well, until they watch this back, how much damage they've actually done in this round. It's a bit of a shame, but obviously Astralis did very well, especially playing with the rotations. I think that's always one of the things that it's evident it needs to happen on this map, but not that many teams are good at it, or as good as Astralis are at it. So they play with their food a little bit. I think just hearing a couple of flashbangs go off from Crims on the other side of the map was enough for them to go, okay, well, there's at least a player or 2 here. Let's go back and make sure that we get a comfortable after plant position. And although, as said, like pretty much every player, I think except maybe S-Tag was low in that round, they only lose 1 player. So financially, they're moving on up. Now, for Fnatic, they've invested into 4 HEs. Flusher obviously saving in the previous round, so he has a little bit extra in terms of a P250 and Kevlar. Now, this is just a monster setup. These nades will all dunk in if somebody pushes through, but for Astralis here, with still 2 SMGs in play and a heap load of utility, I'd be a bit disappointed if these nades actually do too much.
It's unlikely, especially as Astralis have shown that they're not just going to straight up rush in. They're methodical, they're meticulous. If the nades are to do damage, I doubt it will clump up and cluster onto 2 players. Glaive now throwing flashes. This is where maybe the pins get pulled and the grenades get thrown down range. There's one and another one. Oh, the damage is so severe. We're speaking as if Astralis would be able to navigate themselves across from that nade damage, but the shrapnel has shredded the entirety of Astralis. Only 2 players have been spared the pain. And they've also finished off what they started onto Glaive. That being said, though, because they stacked B, they've given up A control, and Device is making the most of that. Astralis were able to shimmy their way across on very low HP players, and it's looking like that may happen again. Fnatic, P250, that's basically all they have. Device now being tagged down to 6 HP. He needs to be careful. The bomb's still yet to be planted, but there's no HEs to deny them this plant this time around. They've all been tossed into Monster. Okay, Golden, he's making this real costly. He said before how they only lost the 1 player, Tom, but they've already lost 2, and all 3 of these players are in pistol range.
Yeah, they just joggled the SMG over, almost like, okay, Magus, you go make some money, and instead, he's ended up falling. Now, in terms of time, in terms of winning the round, it's probably not happening, let's be real, unless somehow they get a 10-second defuse in front of their opponents. But even if they drop 1 more player, this has been an incredible round from Fnatic. So Astralis not making it as clean as they would have liked, but ultimately the rifles stay standing. It's only SMGs that are lost. Nobody dies to the bomb as well, thankfully. So Astralis get the job done. But if you're a Fnatic fan, those are still some pretty good signs in the early stages of this one.
I love to see plays like that, Tom, and I'm happy it did work to a degree. I mean, the fact of the matter is ADR would have been spiking off the charts. They weren't able to make the most of it. As you say, I think 2 players was the threshold that Astralis would have been comfortable losing. Does put Magus down to 800, but everyone over $1,000. And Fnatic going for full M4s, prioritizing the firepower. They are lacking a few grenades and only the 1 kit, which is under control of Golden. But early aggression up onto middle, and Fnatic decide to pull back, giving up by and large the entire map across to Astralis. And they're doing their best to make the most of it. They're already moving into bathroom.
Now, this is something Astralis does so very well, just taking this early map control. And what we know about Fnatic, at least on the last couple of maps, is they love to try and reclaim control. It's not necessarily that they'll always be very aggressive at the beginning stages of the round, but they're always trying to be proactive, trying to make sure that they're not caught out by their opposition's plays. This round looking a little bit more basic, though, from Astralis. Looking like a straight-up banana wrap. They've got to be careful, because there are still 2 players out towards long, and the timing could be everything. A chance for Brolin to get a free kill. Instead, though, the duel doesn't go his way. Now, there is a second player waiting. That might be a bit of a surprise, but JW, I think he's about to have a lot of work on his hands.
Oh, yeah. Still, though, escaping doing so much damage. He's headshot 2 more players. JW alone could very well have tied this round and made it Fnatic's. It's a 3v4 retake, but have a look at the HP bars. And now Golden, he can show his hand. From the back, he drops down the bomb. Glaive has to go out into the open, and he gets sprayed out from Golden. But a lot of this has to fall upon JW. Yes, he went down. Yes, he only picked up 1 frag, but he weakened multiple players single-handedly out in the open. The fact that he pulled off that damage is a miracle.
Can we see his ADR? Is that possible to just have a little quick switch over to JW just to see how much damage he's actually done? 157 with only 3 kills. That's madness.
Unbelievable. And the vast majority of that ADR, Tom, was from that previous round. And it was everything for Fnatic.
For the tease. Those few losses here and there, we were sort of talking about them going, okay, well, that was the threshold. It's not the end of the world. But because of their initial loss, it has come to bite them a little bit. Glaive going to be down to a UMP, a Galil for S-Tag as well. Utility's still pretty damn good, though, for Astralis. And again, Just look how much control they're able to get. We're only 30 seconds into the round and Bathrooms has been fully cleared. They give themselves the information, but the CT side are seemingly quite happy to just stack this B site, almost ready for some sort of play in that direction, and leaving Brolin as a solo A site hold. He just about gets away with that duel. That is too close for comfort, especially when you're the solo player. And well, because of that, there has to be a change. They're going to bring over some support, but well, let's be real, JW's not that healthy either.
Maybe just a few moments away from being put to the sword are Astralis again. Brolan, information being gathered with every step. It becomes more and more valuable. With each second that ticks away from the clock, more brutal for Astralis. Now Fnatic know that they can start stacking the B side. They feel comfortable that A side will see no action. They're boosting up Golden. He's peering in. Good flashbang tossed in though. Blinds him momentarily and affords some safe passage to the T's. Dupree anticipating that, and Glaive with a double spray. Out of nowhere, this round is catapulted out of control, and Astralis snatch it with both hands. Tom, I actually thought that would go to Fnatic.
Oh, yeah, they had all the information. That almost reminded me of some sort of like vintage fur play, where you just kind of watch them and go, oh, you've got 20 HP. You're pushing as if you're currently healthy and everybody else's positions are known. But yeah, Brolin gets them all the information they could possibly desire. And Astralis win the round anyway. They don't even break a sweat. In fact, that one wasn't even particularly close. And that was them fighting with weaker weaponry. So 4-1 start. You can expect them to have a good CT side as well. So Fnatic have to be fairly careful here. And the problem being, their money never really built up. It was a one and done. A big round from JW that maybe padded things a little bit for them, because straight away, Astralis have returned to prominence.
When you look at the stats as well, the combined couple of maps that preceded Overpass, I mentioned that Flusher was top fragging going into that second map, even though they lost Inferno 16-12. Well, he continues that fine form. 44 kills in 2 maps, and consider that Dust only went to 16-7 in the end. Not a huge amount of rounds were played. 94.4 ADR. Flusher has been consistently churning out the damage, and a 1.34 rating in those previous 2 maps. So impressive. And JW actually at the bottom for Fnatic. So it goes to show again that not only can Flusher use the rifles, but he's having a ton of impact when it comes to the AWPs as well.
Speaking of AWPs, I think here we go. This is something we've witnessed throughout the series. The Fnatic, a lot of the time, their initial purchase doesn't seem to have AWPs in it. Mainly that's because they seem to lose every single pistol or the second round, whichever happens. So Astralis always getting off to a phenomenal start in each map. This is where the game has begun in every other of the 2 maps. So it'll be interesting to see if it's going to be the same case. Double AWP setup invested into. Now, we look at Inferno, I would say double AWP optional, not common. We look at Dust 2, very common. Overpass, I think I link closer to the likes of Overpass, where a secondary AWP can be a bit of an awkward one, especially on the B side where it can get rushed down. Speaking of getting rushed down, not the start they were hoping for. Brolin's aggression again is going to be punished, and now JW, he's called for support, but just look at the T's. They take the pick. The mid-round call is to go back in the other direction.
Yeah, they are peeking in there with Golden and Crims, but that's to their detriment. Golden laid down, laid to rest alongside Crims, who will be feeling like he should have done better. Essetag was tagged to 31, and with both the AWPs remaining and the economy in basically the bin, I think we will see a save. And I agree, Tom. I think double AWPs on Overpass should be the exception to the rule. It should be a play that you bust out now and again, similar to what Potter was talking about on Nuke. I put it in the same kind of wheelhouse as a Nuke, where it can absolutely work. But if you are consistently picking up 2 AWPs, you're very susceptible to getting B-rushed. It does allow you less mobility when it comes to taking map control, which is such a key aspect of Overpass on the CT side. And I think we just saw it in motion there. Sure, Flusher and JW didn't really have an opportunity to do anything. They lost players right off the bat, but that's the other issue with AWPs. They're not ideal for retaking. And now Flusher has been put down. meaning that the save will be minimal at best. Dupree does eat a leg shot, maybe finished off from the USP at range. Beautiful headshot, actually, from JW. A bit of overkill. But, I mean, this is all we can really get excited about for Fnatic, is like maybe they can hold on to an AWP. Maybe JW pulls off some nice, save frags. He will do just that. What? Device? I mean, take nothing away from JW, but mate, Device should be getting that kill every day of the week.
I know I'm being a bit cheeky once again, but is it possible to now look at the new Cloud9 signing? Can we have a look at his stats, please, after this replay? Because S-Tag is absolutely tearing them apart. I have to be honest, I'm one of the people where I saw that signing go through, and I was just thinking, Emery, you're a genius. Like, I don't know how you've managed to pull this off. It's one of the best players, or even better. 136 ADR, Vince, 11-1, and he doesn't. He's leaving the team.
Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, I would say he's putting himself in the shop window, but he's already been sold. Like, it's not really a case.
Just start adding in extra. Oh, did they not say that if he helps us win a tournament clause where you have to pay more money?
Right, yeah.
Surely you wait till the end of the tournament and then put the evaluation up a little bit.
Yeah, they've done some real great business there, haven't they? And he's been a consistent part of this.
Cloud9, that is. Cloud9 have done great business. Astralis, we'll wait and see.
Well, they have lost the first player here, Astralis. So JW using the saved AWP against the oncoming T's. Bit of nade damage, but it's negligible onto Magus. He's all right to keep pushing forward. One of the first times, though, that I found myself saying that Fnatic have the first player advantage when it comes to these rounds. They always seem like they've been playing from behind. And Crim's not too far off of landing a couple more shots into Magus and softening him up that little bit extra.
Well, they do seem to make these rounds work every once in a while. AW having a hero orb, hopefully. Maybe he can recreate something that Cadian did yesterday, a cheeky little 4K to get his team back in the map. This boost, though, this could end up being their undoing. They don't realize how close Glade currently is. He's spamming through the smoke, has the chance to get two. Brolin's just picked up a free AWP, but I'm sure he didn't want it out of the cold, dead hands of JW, who flopped onto his head. And this is the problem. Just look how good Astralis are at pushing and pulling. They show a little bit of presence on A. In the meantime, Magus is going, oh, you guys are fighting on the other side of the map. Don't mind me. I'm just sneaking my way into the B site. A free kill for him onto Golden. Glaive now rotates in, and they are almost writing the script to this map. Fnatic are doing exactly what they want them to do. And well, unfortunately, that's going to put us 7-1 up. Now, we've been here before. The only problem is, Vince, normally when I say that, oh, we've been here before, there's a positive coming. No, that was map 1 where Fnatic lost.
Right, exactly. And this is Overpass. This is a map that is synonymous for Astralis just being absolutely ridiculous. Sure, they haven't played it a great deal lately, but we know what Astralis are capable of, and maybe Brolan can hold on to this. Device may not want to go too aggressive with just a deagle in hand, may get punished. That's a pretty big piece that goes with him. If he peeks, it needs to be fast. It can't be slow. Nearly gets flicked, but I think the two AWPers will just agree, a gentleman's agreement, to hold on to their AWPs and not to allow any more bloodshed to come to the forefront. 7-1, and Fnatic, not a single player close to JW, whose ADR is spiking, but the rest of his teammates need to help him out.
Yeah, just before this round gets going, a tweet in from Korshik has said that out of the last 24 times, only 4 times Fnatic have gone 3-0 or 3-1 in the early stages of maps. So it is definitely a recurring theme that they're constantly having to fight back into these matches. So it's understandable that this has been an uphill battle for them pretty much all the way through. They have definitely an interesting stat, that's for sure.
I suppose to take the positive out of that, if they're constantly starting a disadvantage and they're still in a pretty good shape in terms of win-to-loss ratio, they're still in the upper brackets of the DreamHack Open Fall, shows their tenacity is absolutely absurd.
Banging gun rounds.
Yeah, gun rounds on point, never quite down, like always feeling they have full belief in themselves. And well, they've gone 1 for 1 early on. JW getting the first before Mages come straight back, and Brolan also has his head removed. That should open up business to A. There is a fast rotation taking shape, and Astralis, they slow it down again. They're not fully biting down on the fact that A was slightly weakened. They're still playing this one very cautiously, very carefully, and very meticulously, and why not? It's worked out for them so far.
Flusher, I think he's heard everything that's coming his way, though. Molotov will deny them short control, but the smoke sort of displaces the vision. He's going to try and rotate him, but he's taken so much damage, and the one kill they get is at the cost of almost 2 full players. In fact, they eventually do. Flusher, 13 HP. And he's just not going to be able to do anything. Astralis go 8-1 into the lead. They are absolutely dominating this map. We saw this previously in the last one with Fnatic just running riot. It seems like they've awoken the beast that is the current best team in the world. And it's coming in on all fronts as well. Like I mentioned S-Tag earlier. Since I mentioned him, he's done absolutely nothing, which is nice. Glaive is now 10-4, and Magisk is now 8-3. There's not really a bad performer on their side. And well, a few of the players we sort of mentioned, Flusher, you mentioned him as the top player over the last 2 maps, 2 kills. Brolan, a consistent fragger for this squad, 2 kills. Crims, it's Crims. Like, I'm pretty sure he's their highest rated player over the last few months. Again, 2 kills. It's only really been JW that's done much so far.
And that's that stat just highlighted as well and really illustrated is a lot of the success that Fnatic were enjoying on Dust came off the back of entries, getting the first pick. We've seen that happen so little times here on Overpass. It always feels like it's Astralis getting a pick and then converting, being the puppet masters, and maneuvering Fnatic into these awkward positions where it's 3v4 hits onto the site and they can never quite hold the line. That is where Astralis are always at their best. Still the best team in the world, sure. Not quite as infallible as they once looked, though, as Fnatic proved on Dust 2. That being said, though, a real change of pace on Overpass and a change of fortunes. Fnatic down to Deagles. They do have Kevlar, they do have grenades, but they need to start doing something with these lack of buys, because if they fail to convert in the next couple, this could be a horror story of a half. And Fnatic are hanging on by a thread, and what many would argue is the easier of the 2 sides on CT.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the first successful piece of aggression we've actually seen from Brolan, and unfortunately, he doesn't actually gain anything off it. And I think that's actually forced Fnatic in many of these cases to play within their shell, because the plays they were trying to make, the pushes they were trying to take, only ended in death. There were constantly rotations that were catching them out, and Astralis, they never seemed to give up too much map control for long. For now, the A-site take looking more likely, the same shrouded smoke that's being peered over as before. More Device is more than aware of it. He must have seen a pixel of JW's head, but that's enough to gain him the kill. He had a quiet first map, or second map, sorry, but looking like he's back in full force, and he's got plenty alongside him. 2 pistols remain to try and make this clutch work, Vince, and although I'd love a fairy tale round to bring Fnatic back from the depths, I don't think this is it.
No, I think they're going to get a hard dose of reality in a few moments' time here, Tom. I don't see the fairy tale coming up. Golden waiting for that smoke to clear so we can wide peek into truck. He will have a buy in the next round. Goes in for the peek, taking way more damage than he dishes out, flashing his teammate in. Now he needs Flusher to go in. While flashbanged, he does connect the first, but have a look at the bomb timer. It is running dry. Not that it really matters. Astralis put the final nails into the coffin of round 10 and potentially this map and the best of 3. But Fnatic, they have their hands on another buy, and it will be the double AWPs again. And we saw a lot of success when it came to the Augs on Dust 2. So let's see if Fnatic maybe can start to battle their way back into this match.
Yeah, the problem being, though, that while all this has been going on, Astralis have been building up a war chest. They have so much cash. 3 players over $10,000. The remaining 2 with enough to buy for a couple of rounds. can't just be one, Vince. It has to be a streak, and even then, loss bonus will come up. The chances are double digits are almost likely for Astralis in this first half. And hey, if you said to them going into the beginning of this map, you're going to get at least 9 rounds, or even just say you'll get 9 rounds on the T side, even though Astralis are a fantastic team in this map, I reckon they just take that.
Oh, I think so, absolutely. I think it's almost guaranteed they hit 10 at this point, honestly. Fnatic get around. As he said, consistency. They need to connect the dots. Need to prove to us that they can manage to do it. Maybe even prove to themselves. They're a team that have a lot of confident players on the team, as has been proven by the fact they're always seemingly at a disadvantage and still come out ahead a lot of the time. But the fact that JW is out-peaked while the slow play comes into effect, the crab walk crunches down, and Device waiting, expecting a desperation move to come in, and there's a third. He was eerily silent on Dust 2, but now he is silencing all of his adversaries. And he's having no mercy while he puts them down. Crimson Golden, valiant hold onto B, but the second they realize both players are here, they start to retreat the bomb back over onto the A side, where Devices just cracked it all open single-handedly. And Golden with 2, it's a nice attempt. But again, Tom, we spoke of this before. They need to start winning rounds. Nothing else is good enough. And Golden's missed his chance. That probably is the round following suit. He still pushes through the smoke, and Device gets a 4K.
We went into this series saying that Dupree has been playing very, very well going into this tournament. He's been someone who's performing. He's done nothing so far in this map. The other 4 players are playing lights out. And this is where Astralis become truly terrifying. Like, there was a reason where there was a point where pretty much half of the top 20 was filled with Astralis players. Like, there is any member of this squad that can just step up and take over a game. S-Tag, obviously, at the time, was not included in that. And well, after being 11-1, he's just got his first kill since then. It hasn't mattered, though. There's been players replacing him. Device is back. I wouldn't have bet on him having 2 quiet maps back-to-back. There's a reason, as said, that he's been one of the top players in the world every single year. At least JW's got something, though. Now, he doesn't have any Kevlar, so I'm kind of hoping that AK goes into a teammate's hands. This may be a slightly better chance for it to do some damage. The peek out gains some information and still holds an extra player here. And with Deep Connector currently under the control of Brolan, the rotation, they should know if anybody rotates. That's the interesting thing. They've almost rotated everybody over to the other side of the map. I guess in case they go through spawn, Brolan is going to take the initiative. And here we go. Quiet start for the youngster. He's managed to get 2 kills and pick up a rifle at that.
Stinging blow. They need to convert off the back of this. Device still alive. Now the only man alive. 30 seconds, no control over the bomb. Realizing he may need to put that Deagle to use over the AWP. Out comes Brolan, doing tons of damage. Device 1 HP, separating him and his demise. Loads of money. Could very well go for this. Tosses the AWP away. Wants to make sure that none of these CTs get their hands on it, which is a smart play. Clarity in chaos. But ultimately, Fnatic do get a second. But it feels like a bit of a drop in the ocean at this stage, Tom, unless they can get the rest of the half.
And the problem is as well, it's a victory off pistols. It's not something that we're going to be talking about as like something that you can recreate regularly. And they're now going into what is a very strong buy round. They've got the AWP, and interestingly, it's not even on JW. It's only going to be Flusher, who he has gone deadly silent. He's going to go for the peek here, though. A chance for a multi-frag. He gets absolutely nothing. Magis just goes steaming into the site. Golden lurking around the smoke. Can't do anything either. And sure, Crims has found one. The rotation's quick. JW, it's looking like he might just try and be a hero here. On the edge of the smoke, maybe trying to deny the plant, but can't do anything about it this time. A complete change of pace for Astralis, and a retake needed. But JW off to a fine start. In fact, he almost gets Magis through the wall. It isn't quite going to be the kill, though. Device still with utility. Of course, the pace of how they took this site allows them for some extra grenades. The control they've grabbed as well as a lot. Crim still lurking in the back lines. Roland's found one, but it's left onto Device. And Fnatic, they're going to get through another round. And I mean get through. That was not comfortable by any stretch.
Oh, they were crawling through that, Tom. They were battered and bruised and inch by inch, step by step, just about made it. And there's Brolan again that is coming to the rescue of his teammates. The thing is, though, he may have got there a little bit too late. But Fnatic at least going in the right direction. The first time that we can speak of consistency, they've got 2 in a row. Woo! 2 more in a row would be 10-5. And then maybe if they can get that second pistol, we could have a game on our hands. But there's a lot of maybes, ifs, and buts between us and the current situation. Astralis large and in charge, but JW making the most of that position of the smoke. Nullifying device and puts Fnatic in the lead. And remember the stat. Most of the rounds they won on Dust 2 were after picking up the first frag. So let's see if they can continue that mantle.
JW, this is a little bit different. As said, they've been very passive in a lot of these rounds. I feel like they got put back into the cage. The timing, though, for Brolan doesn't work out. And while JW, he's currently fighting for a position. There may not be anyone here. The free kill should come up. That's S-tag down. It's going to ring some alarm bells for Astralis that there is still somebody behind. And even going to drop a nade towards JW. The rest of the team, though, somewhat sectioned out. And Flush has just been dunked. Kobe straight out of the round. And Golden just trying to re-aggress. Will at least get one. Now we see Astralis completely surrounded. Like a caged animal, they're going to try and fight back out of this one. It's on to Magis. Needs some crisp taps to get away with anything, and it isn't happening. The streak continues, just about getting through. A 4th at least for Fnatic. But of course, there's still enough money, Vince, for Astralis to buy one last time.
Credit to JW and the rest of Fnatic, though. Where many teams have let their heads drop, Fnatic raise their chins. And they face off and stare down against Astralis. Flusher and JW's 3rd ever game on Fnatic was against Glaive's Western Wolves. Again, goes to show how long these players have been around for and how long they've been doing battle. It feels like an eternal battle at this point. And I'd say at the most of those games, especially in the last year or two, they've gone pretty convincingly the way of the Danes. So the Swedes playing for a little bit of revenge on top of everything else.
Well, you may have mentioned a pistol win being needed, but I'm pretty sure they're going to want to try and get this last round as well. Also, to caveat that point, they have not converted a single pistol round and they've only won 1 of them. So if that's your win condition, Vince, you're asking for an awful lot. And well, I said Dupree's been a little bit quiet this game. That's Flusher gone. And there's JW gone. It is like a domino effect. You mentioned those opening kills being so integral. It seems like the second they lose one, Fnatic are constantly just fighting uphill from that point to get back into the round. And while JW, he has been one of the glimmers of hope. 14 kills for him. Flusher, on the other hand, this is a bad map to go missing.
It feels like it really shines a light on one of Fnatic's biggest strengths, but also weaknesses, is that aggressive element to their play. When it's working, it looks amazing. They look like geniuses. Every push is working. It's so entertaining. You're loving watching every second of it. But when it doesn't work, Tom, it's awkward, it's sketchy, and it puts them in horrible positions such as this. That's what we've kind of seen. And it's JW and Flusher, the 2 guys that you really put in that
Just a fake.
grouping of aggression.
He's faked them out completely. Sorry to cut you off, but S-Tag's basically just won the round for his team just by throwing in a few nades. He held every single player for the longest amount of time. They finally killed him off and they've realized, well, the bomb's gone down on A. Dupree's just sat waiting for any sort of rotation. In a normal scenario, this would 100% be a save, but the fact is it's the last round of the half and Brolan, he needs to turn water into wine to be able to win this round. An 11-4 T-side half for Astralis. They may have fallen on Dust 2, but they've come back even stronger on Overpass. Fnatic, they've got one last fight as the second half is coming up.
Yeah. Your life hits hard, but I hit right back. I never back down. I keep it on track. It's the same day with no problems. I keep rising from the bottom. Cause when the sun comes up and I look around, I can feel that love, I can hear that sound. They're never gonna hold me down. I'm higher than the ceiling now, and then I need to worry about. Cause I got no problems, I know it's gonna be alright. It's getting better every time. Nobody's gonna kill my vibe. Cause I got no problems. Yeah, every day was a war. Yeah, it kinda took a while. When they tell me I should stay, I just jump with a smile. Yeah, it's hard until you notice. Everybody's got their moment. When the sun comes up and I look around, I can feel that love, I can hear the sound. Listen up. They're never gonna hold me down. I'm higher than the ceiling now, and then I need to worry about. Cause I got no problems, I know it's gonna be alright. It's getting better every time. Nobody's gonna kill my vibe. Cause I got no problems. Cause I got no problems. Cause I got no problems. Do you feel it down? Say it. No problems. That you in but you out. Sing it. No problems. They're never gonna hold me down. I'm higher than the ceiling now. Have none I need to worry about. Cause I got no problems. They're never gonna hold me down. I'm higher than the ceiling now. Have none I need to worry about.
A storied clash continues, our third all-important deciding matchup, and what probably should, if you're on the Astralis side of things, be the final half, no overtime required. They lead 11-4, and Fnatic have had a pretty tumultuous time with pistols and converting from that point. So it doesn't bode well, but maybe the Swedes can turn that fortune back around in their favor. JW tries to do just that through connector. Two-player, one to his left, one to his right, and heavy connector control actually being established from the Danes. And they decide to pull the plug and get back up again towards bathrooms. They give the chase up. They're trying to move back towards A site. Essetag takes the head off of Golden, and now JW tries at range with the Glock to put down some pain. Dupree caught in no man's land, but has Glaive to help him out, who now stands his ground, is flicking to headshots left and right. Essetag next man up. It's like this layered approach of a firing squad that Fnatic, once they beat the first boss, there's another 3 they have to deal with. And the USPs are just ripping them to pieces. Broland's picked up 2, and he's down to 8 HP. He does at least have the bomb, but he also has no information as to where the third player is. And Magisk, he's making a move connector. Tom, this would be one of the plays of Broland's career if he pulled this off.
Well, yeah, 1v3, 8 HP ace. It doesn't sound good because it's probably not going to be happening. And already peeking out a headshot, didn't even need to hit that shot. I feel like Astralis in that round. Like, did you ever watch Total Wipeout, Vince?
I did, the obstacle course thing, right?
You know the like wall that like fists came out of, the little punch. That's Astralis. Like you're like, oh, I got past the first one. Oh, I've dodged the set, and then bang, straight in the face. That's you out of the round, and that's what it felt like. They just couldn't get past all of the fists of Astralis. They're like sort of like a Machamp. They just have like multiple different arms.
Well, we talked about that pistol being a win condition. Has gone begging. Now I'm kind of running out of ideas here, Tom. Like, I guess you break down the CT economy. This next round, eyeing up a 13-4 deficit, you start to string some rounds together. Maybe there's a way back in. but it doesn't seem like there's much light at the end of the tunnel.
What they need is some Fnatic BS. That's what we're ultimately looking for. Like, we can beat around the bush and say, like, oh, maybe if Astralis fall off or they take their foot off the gas. I'm not expecting any of that to happen. Like, Astralis are a very good team. We need Fnatic to pull out some of those BS smoke kills, those rounds that don't make any sense, the ones where you sat there scratching your head at the end. We need something to bring them back from the very depths of this match. And Astralis have been up against this many a time. We've seen this in matchups so many times. In fact, we were looking at the amount of maps that have obviously been played. We're looking at 50, now over 50, if you include the ones that have been played today, and 36 of them have been won by Astralis. They're one of the few teams that can say they have a very positive victory rate versus Fnatic. So they've been there, done that. They've got the t-shirt, and by the looks of it, they're about to add another couple of maps to the tally. Flusha, like, he hasn't had the best of games. That was a nice attempt, though. It's a shame because you'll probably look at the stats for the best of 3 and just think overall maybe Flusha wasn't quite as good as you'd expect. But the first 2 maps, he was phenomenal. And this is a shame because I sort of mentioned it earlier in the tournament, like when we saw them in New York. I think he got 4 kills in a map, and I said, I never expect to see that again. Unfortunately, it's come at a crucial time that we are seeing it again.
Yeah, exactly. He had 44 kills before the start of this map, was top fragging. So a real fall from grace. Still a chance, though, to build this back. And we touched on this on Inferno. He typically has been their entry kind of fragger. And speaking of which, JW, the other veteran core member of Fnatic, comes out swinging and blazing through Connector. Carnage in his wake, but Flusha has been silenced one more time. Good wall bang damage, and Glaive just about surviving on 4 HP. A real shot back into this for Fnatic, but they have to make sure they grab onto it with both hands.
Yeah, realistically, there shouldn't be much chance here. Now, I believe, just for anybody wondering, Fnatic do not currently have 5 players. There we go. I think Flusha is just reconnected. So that did kind of bug out the UI a little bit. They haven't managed to resurrect a player. That's not this game. That's the other one. And while CT still have a chance here, with the way that their players have been performing, there's a real opportunity. They're going to be forced forward, if anything, by Glaive's Molotov. And while the flashbang has made things awkward, he's done a decent amount of damage for how low he was. The remaining 2 players a little bit far behind, however, and considering the money for the CT side, they have such a big bolster of rounds. They don't really need to go anything here, but unfortunately, Dupree goes down in the mix of all of that battle, and Device will be the last one just to try and save his gun.
Device came through into this map with -4 for kill difference, which is not something you very often say at all, but he's currently 18, make that 19 and 7. So he's had a real turn up in form. Definitely a big component as to why Astralis are in such a commanding lead. As you highlighted though, Tom, with such a lead, they can easily come back and save and look to try and turn the screws later on. Now, Fnatic need to be very wary of this because their economy is not built into any kind of shape to justify throwing this many guns away. It's up to you guys to battle back now. You have no room for error. We're going to have some weakened weapons, maybe Galil's put into play. This could get a little bit scary. That's the JW play that really set things in motion. And then his 3rd kill. Big entries. So they don't decide to buy behind this fully, Astralis. They do keep a little bit of money in surplus, and they actually don't have any gloves. They juggled enough weapons to make this come through, but you can see their overall finances here, Tom, looking a little bit dodgy. Brolan, JW, and Golden all feeling worse for wear.
Yeah, at the same time, there's a good opportunity for them here. Like, if Astralis lose this round, they won't have a buy in the next round, and even the one after that might have a few components missing. Device has saved extra cash just to make sure he has the AWP, and the rest of the players have put a little bit less money than you might expect just to make sure that they have that utility for the rounds that matter. Because ultimately, this one, well, if they do manage to win it, it'll be a bit of a cheese round, or maybe someone will take the initiative and manage to make a hero play. But this time, though, that sort of pace that we've seen previously from Fnatic is actually a lot slower. a default round, patiently waiting to check for any aggression. They're going to know as well as we do that Astralis do have some components missing to their buy, especially with the amount of rifles they invested in. But this man, 20 kills in 18 rounds. He's got one of the rifles. Glaive has been pretty damn good as well. In fact, there hasn't really been a client member of Astralis. Someone had to be at the bottom. They could drag this through. Luckily, Golden is going to find the kill, but there's another man to pick up that rifle.
Seems the tides may be turning. Fnatic, let's make sure that
there we
not
go.
them dragging the waters. They have picked up the bomb, and they are now headed towards the site. Crims, big entry onto Esatag. Glaive holding the line for one. Bomb gets dropped down again, tries to go in for more. And although he does a lot of damage to Flash, it won't be enough. The time is just about there for the plant, and JW should be okay. Alongside the rest of Fnatic, dupreeh has made these moves up into bank, making the most of that momentary lapse in judgment. JW's head has been removed as he gets splattered and clobbered by dupreeh. But a well-placed rotation from flusha. dupreeh never saw it coming. 3K for flusha. He actually does double up his overall frags for the map, which is kind of awkward, but also good at the same time. And Fnatic getting themselves back into this now.
The terrifying thing there is if Glaive gets one more kill, I think that round's over in their favor. Like, there was 7 seconds on the clock as they were getting fully into the bomb site. That's such a terrifying prospect considering what was invested for Astralis. As said, though, the reward, even if it's not an amazing one considering how far down they are, is they're now against an eco. Now, we see a single flash. That's all that's invested onto device. The idea here is to just stack up onto the B site and have that solo flash to basically aggress if they don't spot anybody within the first few moments. By the looks of it, they're going to try and put the pain onto short. Now, interestingly, Golden doesn't actually have a gun. He's going to get caught spamming, so that's a free kill. Flusher, on the other hand, does have an AK, and JW's rotated into support to make sure they don't lose too much here. Even another kill would be far more than anything they want to lose to straight USPs. Of course, the man that went down did have next to nothing, so it isn't the end of the world, but still got a little bit uncomfortable there considering it was only USPs.
Goes to show that Astralis, even when they are up against it, even when you feel like they're weak and vulnerable, they can still make it sting. Fnatic need to be cognizant of that and be very careful in each and every one of these rounds. Now, they know off the back of effectively just USPs, they will be up against a very solid purchase. That is the case with the AWP. They are taking short control. Molotov into a smoke. Esatag and Glaive take systematic control over short, but now flashbang through as dupreeh takes down JW, who was on the hunt. He had B short in his sights, but instead it's a bullet behind him, lands in the top of his head, that neutralizes him and gives connector control across to dupreeh. And instead of playing passively or trying to retreat back out again, knowing that Balloons likely has a player there, he gets up close on connector. Information in the process going the way of the CTs, and Crim's tagged down to 9. Does a bit of damage on the return, but nowhere near as good. Excellent play from dupreeh. And again, this information is worth so much on Astralis.
Well, the other thing as well for Fnatic, it severely limits where they can actually go. They don't know that he's left connector. They can theorize, they can probably guess that he hasn't stuck around, but for all they know, they could have bolstered that. So if they do want to utilize the connector at all, they're going to have to gamble. And right now, they don't have time for gambles. So it is just going to have to be a straight push-up in towards this A site. 30 seconds to play with. Push looking to come in. Deep smoke to try and negate the AWP of device, but at the same time, it also holds them in. That smoke's not going to be fading until it's too late, so their only option really is to run straight through it. Molotovs, flashbangs being expended, Magisk is ready and waiting and just completely shuts them down. Fnatic have run out of time and maybe lives as well, as flusha is all that is left. They don't even get close to getting the bomb down, and Astralis make that round look easy.
potentially running out of ideas as well. You saw that Dupree move in Connector, not just with the 1 kill and the ton damage that he did to Crims, basically knocked him down to 9 HP. It was also, as you said, the presence, the pressure that puts on Fnatic, the lack of information that falls upon them, and now coming through into what could be Fnatic's final rifle round, we'll only see Golden on a Deagle. So even in this, at such a key integral moment of this best of 3, Fnatic can't field a completely healthy buy. They have more than enough pieces to make work. And now Device will get aggressive again. 23 kills to his name, over 100 ADR. And he's on the prowl for some prey. And Flusher, up out, nearly gets flicked upon. But Device does miss out. This time it's Glaive that gets aggressive into Connector. It's the UMP, and it comes out ahead against Brolan. Golden's also been traded off against, and Astralis going from strength to strength.
This has just become a slaughter. We're back to map 1 once again, and this time I can't see a comeback in sight. This man has been one of the players to watch. JW, over 100 ADR in a match where you only have 7 rounds, but even he can't do anything. Magis peeks in, S-Tag holding the angle, and Flusher again. It has been a few times. Impossible clutch situations. Like, this one is literally impossible. I think I've seen this one once. It was that Guardian play, and it was one of the worst mistakes I've ever seen a team make, and we're not even going to get a chance to witness that from Flusher. 15 rounds on the board for Astralis. It doesn't even look like they've broken a sweat in this map. You can see smiles across the faces of Magisk, at least. And while Fnatic surprised us with their victory on Dust 2, whether it was predicted for them to win or not, that Dust 2 win was an upset. But this Overpass is what we expect from the #1 team in the world.
Well, I touched on it, but I felt if Fnatic were going to win this game, they had to win the Inferno. They were unable to convert their choice of map. And now, Astralis, even Flash Dupree still connects the headshot into Crims. That is just the summary of this map, honestly. It just hasn't been working for Fnatic. Great flick from Magis, up and over onto Brolan. It's looking like the beginning of the end is very much here. And although Golden is posting up a bit of resilience, it's coming too late. They needed this 4 or 5 rounds ago. And whether it's Esatag, Device, or Glaive, the end result should be the same. With Golden going down alongside Fnatic, they will get bested. Revenge has been served. Astralis take the 2-1.
Yeah, Fnatic, they go missing at the worst possible time, and Astralis, they rise to the occasion. It ends on Overpass, and the Danes once again are showing why they reign supreme in Europe. Absolutely phenomenal stuff from them, and honestly, Vince, like, it's one of those things where you kind of sit there and go, okay, after the second map, maybe Fnatic rise, maybe they show exactly what they've got, but the fact is, Astralis were just the better side.
They were the better side. Apart from Dust 2, where I honestly felt like they were completely outclassed by Fnatic. Yeah. And there definitely are a lot of positives and optimistic elements to look at from the Fnatic side. Sure, it didn't work on Overpass. Another day, maybe they could have won Inferno. They had a good showing, you know, but ultimately Astralis, they're the best team in the world for a reason.
But nonetheless, it's not up to us to break this one down. In fact, that's me and you done for today. I know that there's these Scraunders or something. I think that's what Freya's calling them. They'll be up later on with some fantastic elimination games. But either way, it's off to the desk to break this one down.
It would all come down to Overpass as the decider, but the stars would ultimately align for Astralis. The Danes were clinical, and a dominant 16-7 scoreline catapults them straight to the upper bracket final as their Scandinavian counterparts fall to the wayside. Of course, Maui and Potter join me to break down exactly what we just witnessed. And as you said, Maui, we knew Astralis' T-sides were great, but they really got off to a huge start here.
Yeah, absolutely. It felt like maybe Fnatic was finally going to start on the right foot there. It looked like they were on a 5v3 advantage on the pistol, but after Astralis came back there, it was just kind of lights out at that point. Astralis just really made almost no mistakes, and when they lost that opening pick, they would always find the trade frags, they would find the refrags across the map, and the reads from Astralis were really solid this game. The execs, when they did go B, and their scaling and trading procedures when they went back towards A, all of it just felt like really prime Astralis, just well-congealed machine.
Yeah, and I feel like it's something that we pointed out a little bit on Inferno, Potter. You know, Fnatic had a bit of a slow start there, but then they were able to bring it back to have a pretty even scoreline on that first map. So why were they not allowed to do that by Astralis here on Overpass? Because that first half was utter domination from the Danes.
It was utter domination. And, you know, we always knew that Overpass as this third map was going to be so tough for Fnatic. We saw glimpses of them not being quite as comfortable on this map just the other day versus North, and they kind of showcased it here as well. I do have to point out though, Astralis, man, as Maui alluded to, they just had full control throughout the entirety of the defenses. It just seemed like no matter what, they always chose the right sites to stack to defend, and even on their attacking side, they were so mobile. I don't know if it was Glaive, I don't know if it was Magix or Zonic consistently calling for them on the T side, but they were mobile. They never fully committed to wherever the Fnatic members were going to be, and it just made everything so much more difficult for Fnatic.
I think something we saw coming out from Astralis, obviously every player really stepping up, that consistency can be really, really scary when you're facing an Astralis like that. But I did want to point out Esatag, Maui. You know, it's his swan song, as Blair rightly put it. It's his last hurrah with the Danes here before he moves on over to Cloud9. But he's still stepping up, especially early on that T side.
Yeah, definitely. It was almost like he's been supposed to be playing Zipnik's roles, right? So the thing that was interesting about this game is that he was really in the faces of Fnatic, actually. So it's kind of like as soon as Henry wrote on that tweet, he's going to be our aggressive entry player, he's like, I guess I'm going to try that now, guys. Is that okay with everybody here? And then he just ran with it, and he was fine. He was actually astounding, actually. Those entries out Monster were really just super clean time and time again for him, and it really felt like Astralis could do no wrong. And when Esatag can almost seemingly change his role in the middle of a tournament just a little bit. I don't think he's changed everything, but the fact that he was really ready to fight early on in some of those rounds and win those duels, it bodes well for both him, Astralis, and actually I'll throw in a third, it bodes well for Cloud9 too.
Yeah, it does indeed. I also just wanted to briefly pick on the guy who did end up eventually topping the scoreboard, of course, Device. Him and Esatag both ending on over 100 ADR on this match, Potter. What kind of impact did you see Device having throughout this map?
It's always got to be smooth and calculated when we're talking about Device, right? Because when you watch this man play, he never makes mistakes, and he's always choosing the optimal duels for himself. So I think one of the greatest things for Device, especially in this tournament that we've seen, is his rifle work as well. You know, we always knew that Device's aim is top notch. We knew his rifle would be good, but the amount of impact that he's actually providing, the entries, the holding down the fort with the rifle, it's been beautiful to see.
Yeah, and just flipping over to the side of Fnatic again, obviously they're not out of the competition. That doesn't mean they're falling into that lower bracket. So by no stretch will this be the last that we see of them at this tournament. And I think I just wanted to ask you, Maui, you know, we saw a huge amount of momentum on Dust 2 being that second map. Again, not their pick, not something we expected them to be taking. So where did you kind of see them losing that momentum coming into this third map? Because we kind of thought, you know, they've had such strong form on a map that they shouldn't have been able to claim. Why do you feel like it kind of fell off in this third decider?
I feel like the trades just weren't there for Fnatic on this third map. I actually looked at the stats on HLTV. The trade percentage today for Fnatic's CT side, only 10% of their deaths were traded. That is really low. Like if you had that throughout a whole tournament, for just a little bit of context, it would probably be the worst number in a tournament by far. I think the average is usually for pro teams around 19 to 21%. So that's half as good as it's supposed to be. So they need to figure out some way in the mid rounds to not lose individuals just on their lonesome. They need to find ways to be a little bit more consistent, where when you aren't finding those frags in the early round like we saw in Dust 2, the middle rounds have to be cleaned up a little bit. They need to make sure that players aren't just dying by their lonesome, because Brolin and JW towards A on Overpass, they sometimes just got picked off and there was really no possible response for the Fnatic side.
Yeah, and I guess that's something that you kind of highlighted, Potter, on Inferno to be our starting map of the series. But it's interesting as well, we're sort of looking at the scoreboard here. Again, I don't want to harp on too much about individual players, but it is quite strange to see flusha, you know, kind of sliding off here at the end of this series, because Potter, he's been somebody that we've seen having such prowess, especially on Inferno, going for those knife kills. He's had such confidence, so it is a little bit surprising to see him fall off.
It is. It's so surprising, and how disheartening to fall off in the third map. I do have to say, collectively as a whole, though, Fnatic, they faltered, right? On the CT side, it certainly didn't make flusha's job any easier to find the frags and get himself into it. You kind of saw it, right? Such a spread out defense. Overpass kind of forces you to play in this manner, though, right? Brolan all alone towards the tree at long A, JW doing his damnedest to control party. But as soon as you miss that shot, as soon as you're not feeling yourself and you can't posture and bluff the fact that, hey, I've got a whole bunch of teammates over here, you're gonna fall. And Astralis, they read it. They read it like a book. They knew that Brolan was going to be alone towards that long A. They knew exactly how to isolate flusha towards that B. We even saw flusha busting out the AWP. He's had so much success throughout this entire week with it, but he couldn't get anything done. So really, this was Astralis doing fine work of always keeping Fnatic guessing, never allowing Fnatic to feel comfortable, and never giving Fnatic the duels that they were looking for.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we've praised Astralis for, God, for as long as I can remember, really. They've been one of those teams that have had so much skill and experience behind them, so much knowledge as well, so it's super scary to be coming up against an Astralis like that. But of course, with that result, we've got to check in with our bracket to see exactly where we are standing for today. Of course, isn't all the action we have in store for you. 2 more best of 3s away, but we can see how this bracket will be progressing. Of course, Astralis making it to our upper bracket final. There are only 1 more stop between them and our best of 5 final on Sunday. For Fnatic, as we were saying, Poster, they're not down and out just yet. They will be falling into that lower bracket, but it's going to be a bit of a gauntlet for them looking at the caliber of opponents that are left in this lower bracket.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at that. G2, OG, NIP, and FaZe are who Fnatic might have to potentially face up against. So definitely their work is not done here. At least they're not eliminated. Maui's dreams and hopes are still alive. Fnatic, I mean, Maui, you did mention that this is kind of the script that you wrote out, right?
Yeah, actually, on day 1, I said 2 things, actually. I had a contingency plan for my prediction that they were going to win the tournament. It's that they were going to do it through the lower bracket. So even though I predicted they were going to win this one, this was bound to happen. I thought it might have happened in the upper bracket finals, a little bit earlier than expected, but still, we're not counting Fnatic out just yet, or at least I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, it's classic Fnatic, isn't it? You look at some of the tournaments they've won, they always make the route as hard for themselves as possible, so they are not down and out just yet. But of course, this isn't all the action we have left in store for you. 2 more best of 3s await us here at DreamHack Open 4. And coming up next, a furious rivalry to tantalize our taste buds. It's going to be a relegation match, and it's G2 locking heads with OG after this.